This ruling isn't just a blow to the Biden administration, but it has the impact to affect people's lives for generations to come.
I don't think it's right to think about it as a loss for the Biden administration. It is a loss for America. It is a loss for the world.
The harmful impact of this ruling is crystal clear. It makes it even more difficult to address the pollution and the climate crises at a time when we need to be doing all we can.
It's devastating. It is yet another example of the court's unwillingness to protect the health and safety of the American people.
The Supreme Court's climate decision sending Democrats and the media into a full-blown media meltdown and sparking nationwide protests. Joining me now, Executive Director of Power the Future, Daniel Turner, is with me. Daniel, good to see you. All right,
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Is this fair? Should they have this kind of meltdown with the Supreme Court's decision on the EPA, or a little overstated?
Oh, it's just absolutely remarkable. All the courts did was it said that this agency had overstepped its charter, its original mandate, which was written by Congress, and that if Congress wanted it to do something new, like regulate methane, regulate CO2, they needed to pass legislation in that effect. And then all the members of Congress are apoplectic, saying, how dare you make me want to do my job, right? No one wants their fingerprints on any radical climate legislation. That's why the Green New Deal has not actually been introduced. And for the years that they've been talking about it, no one in Congress wants to author this, but they all want to use the nebulous, enormous, bloated, bureaucratic state to get it done. So this is a great win for the American people and for freedom.
Danny, you're right. It's the liberal deep staters who are never accountable to any elected voter or any voters who can petition their government. They get to sit in these agencies and do these radical things and never be held to account. And you're right. If you want to pass legislation on climate change, pass it through the Congress, or pass a law in Congress that gives actual authority to the EPA to move us from carbon to green energy. But to your point, it'll never pass because there's Democrats who are in tough re-elections, and they know that if they vote for something like that, like the Green New Deal, they'll never get reelected because that's not what America wants.
No, exactly. And look at what the damage the EPA has done since it really was weaponized starting in the Obama administration. I mean, tens of thousands of coal miners lost their jobs because the EPA took on this mandate to regulate them out of business. Obama applauded it, right? And he won awards for it. But if you're one of those 50,000 some odd coal miners for a decade now, what has happened to your small community? You see opioid problems, fentanyl problems, suicide, domestic violence, right? Everything that comes with poverty. The EPA brutalized rural energy towns. It's why I started my organization, Power the Future, because these powerless, voiceless people were victimized by this enormous overreach of government, and no one was speaking on their behalf. So this is a little bit of vindication that hopefully this process will stop, and we will stop abusing these people in rural America.
100%, Daniel. I come from rural America, and that's why rural America went from Democrat to Republican. This is one of the main issues. But also, if you look at the main polluters in the world, China and India, they're not bound by any of these rules. So here Americans attack American energy, make it more expensive for us to do business, manufacture in America, send our jobs overseas where there's no rules in China. I mean, this is the dumbest policy, I think, imaginable by any politician.
It is, and you know, an analogous situation, and I hope this verdict translates to other bureaucracies and other agencies, but analogous situation is the frustration the American people had these last 2 years with COVID, where these nameless, faceless bureaucrats were saying, your church is closed, your school is closed, you have to work from home this week. You know, we have an expression about the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is doing this as well. Don't Fauci the FERC, right? Who are these bureaucrats that get to decide whether or not your business stays afloat, whether or not you're allowed to have a job? So if you are frustrated with COVID, know that the environmental left has wanted to use this agency in the exact same way for decades. And finally, the courts are pushing back and saying we have to stop this.
Thank you, Daniel. Very well said. Appreciate it.
Thank you.